Okay, so I'm just gonna give you like some insight on like the characters and stuff. Okay, so I'll talk about the oldest brother, Derry. So Derry is the one that acts as a father figure for Soda and Ponyboy. So he initially grew up on the rich side of town of Oklahoma, the like town that they're living in, which would be, I guess, like considered the Socias, because basically the towns are separated into two groups, which are the Socias and the Greasers, and they're Greasers because they're the poorer like gang and less privileged group. And they do more like illegal stuff and bad stuff because they're trying to stay alive, so they do illegal stuff because of the fact that they're so like poor. So like they steal and they get into a lot of gang violence because of that, and like they have a bad reputation. So, and he used to be, I guess, like a Soch, because he used to go to school. He was doing really good football. He was gonna graduate, and he could have pushed through with that, but he couldn't because after his parents died, he just had to take over and take care of Soda and Ponyboy. So he had to provide for them completely, like he had to become a full-time parent for them, basically. So he couldn't like take on that life, and through that, like he got involved with a bunch of gang violence and that whole Greasers living in that side of town. And he had been through a lot of stuff happened in his life, let alone just having all that pressure on his back with his parents gone. He just has to put that tough face on, and so he does harden to the point where he only expresses his emotions angrily, and he shows that he cares in the wrong ways. Like, for example, the fights that he gets into with Ponyboy. Of course, like Johnny, it thinks that like, oh, Derry hates me and stuff, but he misjudges his love for him because he doesn't have bad intentions. Those intentions come out wrong because of the way he shows them. He's a really like hardened person. He gets mad and has to have everything his way, but only because he cares. But it's one of those things where you can have the character there and you can think they're a bad person and stuff, but you find out things about them that humanize them to the point where you sympathize with them. Like, you get that full understanding of why they are the way they are, and so that's some information about Derry, the oldest brother. Okay, Soda, like I said, is like the really bright one that everybody loves having a friend. He dropped out of school, had this girl that he was in love with, was planning on getting married with her. They even had a kid together, but the relationship didn't work out in the end. So he was really cheerful and stuff, but he goes through hard times as well, obviously. Place he lives in is just dangerous. You think about the situation, it's just like they're constantly fearing for their life, fearing for the people around them, because they have this gang and they're all like probably the most loyal to each other than like anybody they know in their lives, because they consider each other family, so they're trying to keep each other alive, and they get involved with danger of others even if it doesn't involve them, trying to take care of them. Like, they have this thing where they always leave their house door open. They live by themselves, and they leave their house door open for any like of their friends or gang members to let in the house to make sure that they're okay or have a place to even just sleep in. And being close to death because of the rivalry of the gangs. So Soda is in that position, but he's always super bright, and Derry and Ponyboy are always fighting, and he's just in between it all, and watching it for him is like really difficult, so he just puts on this happy face that everything's okay, so no one really worries about him. But he obviously, he's human too, he has emotions, and that's that about him. And he's just like super careless person. Even when you look at him, he's just like really bright, I guess. That's how I can describe it, because he makes the best out of most situations, and, you know, really just wants the best for everybody, and that's how his personality is. Pony Boy, he's the main character. The whole like book. He loves watching films. He gets really into books. He's into all that kind of stuff, and he's the type of guy that appreciates things like sunsets and just, you know, the little things in life. He's not like, he uses all these things as an escape, sort of. He's really young. I believe he's like 14, 15 years old. I should know this, but he's like really young, and he's having to live through all this, like, these issues that, you know, when things having issues, like, obviously we have issues and stuff like that, but, you know, he has financial issues, constant worry that, you know, sometimes he worries about getting taken away from his family, which would be Derry and Soda, his brothers, and just all the violence. And then later on in the book, he's just worrying about, you know, even going to jail, his family's safety. He runs away at one point, and oh my lord, he's just like, he runs into a burning church trying to save people. Oh my god, it causes like so much conflict. Oh, I want you to read the book so bad, but where was I going with this? Yeah, so he uses all this stuff as an escape. But the thing about him is he's really not like any of the other guys. Everybody hates that he walks alone, because he walks alone to the movie theaters, and he walks back home alone, and, you know, everybody's like, hey, you know, that's really dangerous. You can get jumped just like Johnny did, which is, I'll talk about him later. He's another character in the book. You know, you can get jumped by him. No, jumped by, like, the Socias, and, like, you never know what happened. You're walking with, like, no one protecting you. You're so young, and you don't even have any protection on you. So he's just really careless about that stuff. He knows about it, but he's just not really, like, how do I say it? I don't know. But he tries not to make that the center of his life, and he knows, but, you know, and it, like, generally, like, the main reason why he walked alone to the movie theaters is because no one's like him. No one likes that kind of stuff. He's just alone. He's just a person that likes to be that way, and, you know, towards the end of the book, he starts being reckless and changes, and, like, even characters around him start to notice that he's, like, hardening after all the trauma that he's been through, and they're scared that he will turn out like Derry, or this other this character in the book that died named Dally. I'll talk about him soon too. And you know, just going through the struggles, and he starts to change, but he's just trying to make it through it all, you know, in the book. And then so I'll talk about Johnny next. So Johnny is a gang member that one of the gang members in the Greasers. He is quiet and probably the most anxious person in the whole gang. He carries a switchblade with him at all times. He got jumped by the Socias. He was, like, severely traumatized by that, and, like, he's super paranoid and, like, ready whenever stuff happens. I mean, if you read the book and you see, like, all the stuff that he does in certain situations, he's like, and I guess he's kind of, I guess, not really anything, but kind of the pet of the gang. People like the whole gang just looks out for him and tries to protect him because of the fact that they know what happened to him. He becomes a huge part in the book. He accidentally kills someone, not intentionally. I'd tell you about that whole situation. I'll tell you if you want, but he kills someone in fear that he and Soda will get killed. He helps Johnny run away, and they run away together. He saves some kids from a fire also, and he dies in the book. Then there's Dally. He's, I guess, the head. It's not really an official head of the gang, but he's, you know, I guess he does have that role in the gang. But he has this, I don't care what happens, he's gonna do whatever he has to do to get out of certain situations. He's just always on the run. He's also really hardened. Like, he has this mindset where he doesn't care about anything. He truly does not care about anything. He has a fuck it mindset and doesn't really care what happens to him or, you know, what could happen to him. He's really extremely reckless with the things he does. He's like always on the run from the cops, does like really reckless things, but I mean, that's because he's so emotionally broken and dead, you know. Out of all of them, he went to jail as a kid, and he had all these things happen to him. He doesn't really have a family, and same thing with Johnny. His parents were abusive, and that's why he has the Gristers as a family, because his parents were abusive, and he doesn't talk to him, and he was really abused, and that's another reason why he's so traumatized and paranoid. And Dally, he commits suicide in the book, not like directly, but if you knew the story, you'd know what I meant by that. He dies at the end of the book, knowing that he was gonna die purposely, and he didn't care. He just let it happen and kind of enforced it in a way, because, you know, he couldn't move on with life, because Johnny, the little traumatized boy I was telling you about, he was the only person in life that he really truly cared about and loved. He's probably the only thing and person he cared about, so he really couldn't move on life without him. So he was like becoming even more reckless, so he ended up dying. He couldn't stand to feel the pain of grief that he had for Johnny. And, you know, these greasers are, like, extremely loyal to each other throughout the whole thing, and I could say so much. Throughout the book, they actually do. Like, of course, their rivals are socias. Socias have hurt them in so many ways. This rivalry has hurt them in so many ways, and not them even wanting to them doing anything that could prevent that. It's kind of their fate, and it's sad that they have to live in this, but they did meet some socias that they did become friends with, and like understood them, which were like Randy and Cherry. They become a part of the situation. They used this quote that was like, they soon realized that, like, even if they live in different side of towns, different part of gangs, you know, they're, at the end of the day, they're both just humans, and they use this reference that's like, you know, we still see the same sunset on different sides of town. We still see the same sunset. They use that reference thing, and towards the end of the book, you know, Pony Boy is realizing, I mean, from everything that happened, he was changing, and he was about to do something reckless. He was just not himself. He was starting to give up on, like, life, but he couldn't end up how Derry did, because sometimes it's worse to be, you know, dead inside. And his brother Derry then explained to him that, you know, just because things in life get hard for him, you know, he can't just give up on anything. You don't just stop living because you lose someone or something. He means, like, you can't give up on trying when you lose something you cared about or something bad happens. In Derry's case, he, like, tells Pony Boy that he can't let Johnny's death or all the events that happened to him change him. That Pony Boy needs to keep fighting to move forward, because in the book, the moral is, you know, gold never stays. Like, no matter, like, basically nothing good will last forever. And, you know, you just gotta adjust, and you can't really let that affect you. And, you know, that's what Ponyboy learns at the end of the book. And he starts writing about it. He shares his experience, and it's the first time he's opening up and telling the world about, you know, his journey. He does that at the end of the book, and that's how it closes. So